Welcome to NTR Radio. I'm Tom First Newest.
And I'm VZ Mark II.
K guys is not with us, but it's been a while. At least it feels like it's been a while because the last
Um,
episode was supposed to be an out of cycle NTR Radio, and we were supposed to record last week, but then we
yeah,
didn't
yeah,
record last week, and we were supposed to record yesterday on the 4th, but we didn't record on the 4th either. So now we're recording this episode today.
yeah.
So what's new? I haven't watched a goddamn thing. Except,
Um, yeah.
except I saw the first episode of the quintessential quintuplets on VZ's
And that's what
recommendation.
I've been watching. And isn't it great?
It feels exactly like one of those like mid-level 2000s era harem comedies like Happy Lesson or Comic Party.
It reminds me of like something from like 2010, 11, 12, like that around that time.
So it reminds me more of something from like 2005 because it's
Oh,
got that same
mm,
chord side of maybe it's not quite as zany as something like Happy Lesson, but
mm.
it's got that same sort of setup where it's the dude and then he encounters the one girl of the harem setup and then he like the rest of the episode is just him stumbling into all the rest of the girls in quick succession.
Mm. I already finished the first season and a little bit of the second season.
Yeah, I've only seen the first episode so far.
No, but trust me, it's really good. Uh, I am well. Okay, so real fast to because it segues into this stuff that I got. Well, um, week before I got I got an Nendoroid of Mari from Evangelion,
Mm,
which is okay. Um, it has its sort of different construction than normal Nendoroids, and because of that, I had to sort of glue in between the torso and there's like a joint there.
mm,
But once I put the two together, it's fine, and it's still like the ball joint moves
right.
there. Um, but anyway, I totally lucked out because I didn't pre-order this, and because I am liking the show now, I was able to get Yosuba from Quintessential Quintuplets,
Mm,
and I already pre-ordered Nino, and I'm gonna try to get Itsuki from, which is the one with the red hair,
right.
in August. I'm gonna try to get her. I didn't pre-order her. I'm not gonna be able to do. I'm not gonna do all five. I don't think I have to do all five, but at least one to get my favorites,
Yeah.
which is fine. Uh, what else did I watch? Oh, okay, real fast. I won't do any spoilers. But I watched Hathaway's Flash, the
Mm,
first movie.
yeah.
That was so boring.
Damn.
Okay, all right. It was okay. The first 10, 20, okay, 20 minutes feels like one of those Western action movies. Like, it reminds me of, the beginning of Dark Knight Rises.
Yeah.
It feels exactly like that. So it feels very Western Hollywood movie.
Huh.
That part's fine. But then the rest, the majority of it is just talking heads. And okay, there's a little action later on, but really, just for what I was expecting versus what I got, I was a little disappointed.
Right.
But there's going to be more, so we'll see how that goes.
Yeah. Yeah,
One more thing
I
I
haven't watched
watched.
a
Oh,
whole I haven't watched a whole lot, so this is all you.
okay. One more thing I watched. Before I talk about the new season, but I won't bring that up until later.
Yeah.
Uh, uh so you ever see me retweet these cards? It's another like gotcha game. Actually, it's a rhythm game. Tokyo Seven Sisters.
I've heard of it, but I don't exactly know what it is.
Okay, it's another Idol thing, another Idol franchise. Its gimmick is that it's supposed to be like a little bit in the future. So there's things like holographic technology and
Right.
such. But it's not super far in the future. Anyway, they finally came out with a movie,
Hmm.
an animated movie that I was kind of unsure how it was going to turn out. And the reason is because it's animated by Toei.
Ooh.
Yeah, and Toei is notoriously cheap, if anyone knows.
Right.
All right, they were fucking fantastic in the '80s as far as movie production goes, when during that bubble era. But so anyway, I watched the movie. There was I didn't have any subtitles for it, so I had to watch it raw.
Right.
But you know what? It was pretty good. Pretty good. No CG for the idols, like the dancing things.
Right.
They saved most of that anyway for the end. The idol stuff.
Hmm.
It's pretty. I mean, from what I was able to understand, it was pretty good. It reminded me of the very beginning of the original Idolmaster series.
Right.
It felt like that. So if you like that, I mean, some of my favorites, the ones that I have, like the ones that from like the game, they're not in this movie though.
Mm.
But it's a very big cast.
Yeah, that's always kind of the thing with these gacha game adaptations is the game always has a trillion characters, but the adaptation usually only covers a relative few of them, even if it's like, oh, it has 20 characters in it, but the game has like 800.
I'm wondering if this leads it to like a series, because sometimes that happens.
Mm.
Sometimes they make the the movie as sort of a test thing.
Right, a proof of concept.
Yeah.
Sort of like kind of what they used to do with OVAs back in like the late 2000s, because that was Strike Witches. Like Strike Witches started off as an OVA kind of proof of concept thing, and
Yeah,
then grew
Strike
into
Witches,
an anime.
Sky Girls.
Yep.
Which is very like, yeah. Actually, I didn't mind the OVA for Sky Girls. It's a TV series that was like just JC staff not on their A game. Well, I didn't think they could have ever given like it just was not. Yeah, bad directing. Oh, one more thing I want to talk about is so they showed the last episode of Wonder 8 Priority.
Mm.
And man, a lot of people hated this ending.
Yeah, I've heard some negative things about it, but I basically have no context at all because I haven't even been following.
It wasn't as bad as I think maybe people were expecting something grander.
Mm.
I think the production value definitely took a dive. Like from the beginning, that was almost like theatrical level.
Right.
To this was kind of like because it was actually an hour-long thing that they had, and the first half an hour was a recap.
Ooh.
And then the rest was just sort of. And then there was this weird twist that again you would have to watch the show to know, but it's kind of like, ooh, ouch.
Right.
Oh, that totally made the character look complete 180 from before.
So is that all you watched?
Yeah, that's all. I'll other than we'll get to the season stuff later, the new season.
Yeah. I do need to check out the new season because there are a couple shows I know of that I am interested in checking out.
Yeah, one I think we're both going to be watching because of what it is, but when we get to that.
Yeah. So the topic for this episode, and this is sort of, well, before we get into the topic, here's how you get involved with the show live. You go to ntrradio.net, you click on the live chat link, you give yourself a nickname, hit the button, and join us in the IRC channel. Alternatively, you can take your favorite IRC client, point it at irc.ryzen.net, and join us in the #SLC media channel. Alternatively, you can get at us on Twitter at TAnubis, at VZMK2, at NTR_radio. And as always, the email address to get involved with the show is ntrradio@gmail.com.
See,
So,
it's having trouble connecting, but we'll see.
yeah, I had caught wind of, well, previously it was one article, but now it's two. Both on Anime News Network. The first one was, this is back in like mid-June. Title: Crunchyroll originals have been a disaster.
Yes,
And
yes.
it was a lengthy, like very lengthy breakdown.
Oh, it was visceral. It was visceral.
Yeah, of
They
just,
did not pull back the teeth
no
on this one.
And it was just a visceral breakdown of what Crunchyroll originals are or were, why, like, why they've had the reputation they've had of being not as good, and like
Oh boy,
the
X
the whole
X arm.
the background behind some of these productions. And so it was that article, and then more recently, an interest article. Animator Ipe Ichi says Netflix anime produced at MAPPA paid bottom rates. And so this is about how Netflix, as we all know, is coming in and really investing hard into anime. But we're also getting reports from these animators, these freelance animators, who are saying that when Studio MAPPA produces anime for Netflix, the pay is either at the bottom of like the range for industry, or below that. So that first article, now the second article, kind of have me asking the question: can Americans make anime without fucking it up in some way? And then further, can Americans make what can be considered anime? Because we had that whole thing a few years ago, and this was,
Considering what I went to art school for, even though my major wasn't like animation, was cartooning, but yeah.
well, so like here's the whole thing. Did you catch wind of that whole thing a few years ago with that music video Shelter?
Oh yeah. Was that the one and it had like cute girls in it or something?
Yeah, it was. I think it was this cute girl living in the virtual world.
Yeah.
But so, Porter Robinson and Madion put out this song, and then this music video produced by, I believe it was A1 Pictures.
Yeah.
Yes, it was A1 Pictures, and released it to YouTube. And the whole thing about it, and this is gonna sound hilarious, but it's real talk. The whole thing about it is, like, our anime had a problem with it because they didn't consider it anime, regardless of it being produced by A1 Pictures, regardless of it being quite clearly in not just an anime art style, but quite clearly in what would be considered a moe art style. Like, despite all of that surrounding it, because it was made by an American. Well, because its background is, this is an American that basically commissioned this animation.
Did you ever hear of a? I never saw it, but I know of it. I'm sure there was a anime movie in the 2000s called Tekkon Concrete.
Yes, I've seen it actually. I've seen it multiple times.
Okay. And it was the director was was not from Japan. It was an American.
Yeah, so it's it's not.
He's also the guy that I forgot what computer program he invented. I think it was like Flash or something.
I don't know offhand.
All right, but it was some sort of like because he was like a graphics guy, and he like invented the program, and of course he used it in the movie or something.
Right.
But I haven't seen the movie. I just know of it. Yeah, and considering the thing that I originally wanted to do in art school, which was, a little bit naively and almost Chunibo level of like, I could, make anime after this, or have a basically, or do a comic, and then have that comic be adapted.
Well, so I guess that's the question we're trying to answer with this episode. But so this isn't a new discussion, like the whole can Americans make anime thing. But I think the problem
No.
is that we haven't figured out what this is gonna sound stupid, but we haven't figured out what anime is to be able to answer that question. And we haven't figured out like to what degree an American has to be involved with the production of an anime to be considered to have made that anime, if that makes any sense.
And there's also, yeah, of course, there's those tons of co-productions, and some that were even like had like a Japanese director.
Well, yeah, we had the Big O2, which was not going to happen if not for.
Oh, I'm talking about even further back. I'm talking about like the robot shows I told you about, called Mighty Orbots. That it was a show for the Western market in Saturday mornings, but done in the Japanese studio, TMS, Tokyo Movie Shinzo, animated by Osamu Dezaki.
So I guess the question is, do we consider that anime?
Yeah, that's a very interesting,
because
paradigm of.
Here's kind of
that
the
show
issues.
was way ahead of its time, by the way. Like it's weird. I'm sorry to have a tangent, but it's like one of those things where it's like ahead of its time. Because it wasn't, I didn't even know about it then. But at the same time, like it could have only come out of that like sort of tandem of Japanese talent and Western capital investment to have something like that.
Oh, so that's kind of the issue, is like we don't actually know what anime is.
Yeah, I'm gonna put in a.
Wait,
I retweeted this. I'm gonna put in the chat a scene from the Japanese dub of that. Hold on.
So more so, we can't agree on what anime actually is because. We can't agree on what anime actually is because the discussion is so, like.
I don't see it here.
Like every time someone asks, "Oh, well, what is anime?" we get a whole bunch of bad faith arguments because what nobody wants to acknowledge about anime is that a significant part of what makes anime is the cultural influence.
Absolutely. I'm not. I'm never going to deny that. Although, see, the type of stuff that if I wanted to work on, I'm very much about this sort of thing that is about emulation, making things feel like as if it was something else. Okay. Oh, that's why I didn't retweet it. But do you know what I mean? And I guess a lot of people don't get that because it's like, oh, why aren't you doing your own stuff? Why are you copying? Even though I'm not, it's my thing is sort of emulating and then adding to.
So yeah. that's sort of
watch this thing I'm putting. Yeah.
So that's sort of the thing is you've got. So we were talking about Mappa before, and one of the real big things that Mappa has put out recently is this show for Netflix called Yasuke,
Okay. Oh
and
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
it
Samurai.
directed by LaShawn Thomas, who's a Black American,
Hmm.
and the whole thing is was okay. Uh, it's a story about Yasuke, the Black Samurai, who was a real black man who was a real samurai in real life history of Japan.
By the way, the thing I posted that aired on Saturday mornings. Just keep that in mind.
Mm.
All right, Western American TV, and that just blows my mind. That something of that level looked.
But so that
Okay.
the lines are so like the lines were blurred before because we had
Yes.
the whole thing with okay the big O2, which wouldn't have happened if not for the people at Toonami and whatnot who
And the
basically
Animatrix.
commissioned that. We had stuff like the Animatrix, and that gave way to further things like the like parallel to that we had the Marvel crossovers with Madhouse, but then we also had stuff like Halo Legends. We had the Mass Effect anime. We had the Dante's Inferno anime for the 8 people who played that game.
Yeah. They're doing the Star Wars anime now.
Yep.
Yeah. I love holy shit. Like I never cringe at Japanese staff who work on things. I had a cringe here because they're like, it was always like my dream to work on something Star Wars. I didn't think we would ever get to work on something like, and I'm like, oh gee, after all that Star Wars has sort of been dragged into, you still care about that IP?
Well, that's kind of the thing is like they still got to make money off of it somehow. All right, stand by 1 second. Because a special guest just got in contact with me, and I'm gonna bring him in. 1 second, stand by.
Sure.
Okay, he should be joining us shortly. There's the Geeky Panda.
Oh,
Welcome to NTR Radio.
Nice. Hi.
What's up? It's been a while.
Hey.
So we are talking about can Americans make anime, and we were just talking about the history behind that up until now. How we had stuff like the Mighty Orbots, which was American money, American money going to Japan to produce a show for America. We had naturally we have like stuff like oh well some of
It did get
the
released in Japan too, but
yeah
I know.
but like some of the like Batman the animated series that some of those episodes were animated in Japan, and then we had stuff like the Big O2.
Anything that Tokyo Movie Shinzo, which is kind of like this the way I put them is they do Western animation better than Western they were able to better emulate Western animation than Western animation studios at the time could, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so you have that. Then you have stuff like you had all those Marvel anime coming out from Studio Madhouse some years ago.
Oh, they were doing there was a it was only one episode, but there was an X-Men before the 90s X-Men series. There was a one shot that aired in 1989 for the X-Men called Pride of the X-Men. That was animated in Japan, and you could totally tell it was see, for me, anime was always more than just character design. It's the way objects were shaded and framed in the shot. That particular look versus Western animation always stood out, and that's how I was able to sort of tell. It's like, okay, this is definitely got some sort of Japanese background in it.
See, I think at a certain level, like superficially, you can kind of tell for the most part, but then again, there are many anime that look nothing like any other anime.
Oh, I know that, and I think a lot of people know that. Oh, but
But so you had stuff like the Marvel anime, you had stuff like the Animatrix, you had stuff like Halo Legends,
Yeah.
where you all it's Western IP, but Japanese studios.
Yeah.
And so
There's
now
that.
now you're getting paradigms like you got Yasuke, which is directed by an American, but made by Studio Mappa, and basically also made for Netflix, an American company. And then you also have at the other side, you've got stuff like large American anime companies directly funding or contributing to the funding of anime that was being produced in Japan. All that, and they're also like supervising the creation of anime like X-Arm. So
Here you go. Here's that shiny nickel for your animation budget.
yeah, that's kind of where I start where it starts to diverge from can Americans make anime and into can Americans make anime without fucking it up? Because you have the whole thing with okay, now it's come out that Studio Mappa is paying its animators literally bottom dollar when they're being commissioned by Netflix to make anime. So now it's okay. Well, what's going on with Netflix? Why their investment, which we've said on the show before, Netflix pays 2 to 3 times the budget to studios to make its anime. And if I were to speculate, I would say that the reason they do that is because like to give an incentive for these studios to work with Netflix instead of going to like the regular production committee market and getting work from there. That's my speculation. I could be wrong, but we know that they pay 2 to 3 times. But it's not only is it not making it to the animators, even less of it is making it to the animators than if if these studios had gone the traditional route. So we know that Netflix is kind of there. You could argue they're doing damage to the anime industry by doing that. And we also had this thing coming out with Crunchyroll where number one, we found out that well, they announced, not like we uncovered it, they announced that they're what number one, they're creating their own, like they have their own studios and they're creating their own animation in their own studios, which if we're going by if we're going by the image of Crunchyroll with that they're okay, we're supporting the anime industry, that's not necessarily what people think when we say we're supporting the anime industry. But that's beside the point. They're coming out. They announced this show called High Guardian Spice. Some 2 years later, we've seen not hide nor hair of it.
It's gonna come out. It's gonna come out. Clown
What?
TV said so.
And
It's gonna come out.
and not only not
I'll be
only
nice.
not only have we not seen High Guardian Spice, what they did put out called X-Arm is an unmitigated disaster of a TV animation. It's not even like it's not even a High Guardian Spice thing where the marketing was off, but the show could be good. We just don't know. The show is it looks like something from the PlayStation 2, like the early days of the PlayStation 2 in terms of visuals, and that's not a compliment.
That or something like Newgrounds, but
Yeah, it looks like somebody's like
There's a,
so
there's a
halfway 3D
CG
animation on Newgrounds from 2004.
because I watched the first episode of that just
I
for
don't know
like
why
a
you would
lark.
do that to yourself.
There was a normal anime character, like regular drawn, standing next to a CG character, CG cell shaded character.
So that's something that has happened before. Like I don't know if you saw this, but the at least the first episode of the Magnificent Kotobuki was that, except the 3D animated characters actually looked like anime characters and moved like Like they moved like characters, or like you would expect an anime character to move like. It wasn't like weird halfway mocap stuff.
Mm.
And so to a certain extent, what my question is again twofold. Number one, can Americans make anime without fucking it up? And number two, can what Americans make in that style be considered anime? And I think we can get close.
We
I think-
were close. We had a few examples back in like what late '90s, early 2000s, where they clearly drew inspiration from anime. There was no if, no ands, no buts, but they were kind of hitting the mark.
Well, so
Like-
that's kind of the thing is like there's a lot of Western animation that really quite clearly draws inspiration from anime, and like it gets to a point where it's very number one, it's very obvious, and number two, it's so close that many people consider these works anime. Stuff like Avatar: The Last Airbender and Legend of Korra, stuff like Ruby is people consider it anime. If you put it in the store, you put it in the anime section because that's where people are going to expect to find it.
Well, don't forget there was a show which I freaking loved back in the day too, called Megas XLR.
Megas
And it was-
XLR.
It was literally a love letter to mecha anime.
But so that's more so a parody, which is not a knock on Megas XLR, but it's quite clearly a Western animation parodying Japanese super robot shows.
Yeah, it's sort of like difference between just something that's a parody and something that's a full on. We're
know, like-
making this non.
It's like,
You know,
have either of you
genuine.
ever seen a show called Kappa Mikey?
Negative.
Yeah, in fact, I have a story about that. When I was trying to look for work within something Westerners drawing anime style, and I found I found The Office that they
Oh,
were yeah. Obviously, I didn't get the job there, but and that's how I found out about the show.
yeah. So for those who don't know, Kappa Mikey is it's a Western animation about an American cartoon character who wins a trip to Japan and then goes to live and work in Japan, and all the Japanese characters use the anime style. They're drawn in the anime style. They do things that only anime characters do, like they'll go into chibi form if the comedy demands it and whatnot. But like Mikey does things only Western animation characters do. So
That is
Mikey looks like Fry from Futurama.
he kind of does.
that is actually a really cool idea. I'm not gonna
Yeah,
lie.
it was a good show. I enjoyed watching it, but like it's the different. That's what I'm more so talking about when talking about something like Megas XLR, where it's a parody of anime rather than a genuine attempt to make something that could potentially be considered anime. Like stuff like
When I see something that looks like Evangelion, then I'll say, because that's what I want to see from us. I want to see an Evangelion. No, not a parody of Evangelion.
That's already been done before. Oh God.
let's think
I
about
want
that
something
better.
of that like level.
What would you
so
consider Batman Beyond that?
Batman Beyond?
well-
I would consider it a Western animation.
Yeah,
It's really good.
Really,
It's
really good.
It's probably
was animated by TMS, but though.
well.
Oh,
Like
really?
I said,
That
like I said, they do Western animation better than Western animation companies.
so like that's the thing is what are the standards of something being an anime, and what it keeps coming down to me is the cultural difference, the cultural influence, and that's something that like if you're coming from that culture, it's really like it's already in you. The question I think that needs to be answered is, can an American emulate that cultural influence in their own way?
It's like even on like a lot of Westerners,
And
a
so
lot of
it's
really.
I think part of it is like you can make an argument that you can really only like if you're not born into that culture, you can really only you can get close by basically being referential to other works of anime, other previous works of anime. But the thing is, anime already does that all the time. Like anime builds off of previous anime paradigms, and then you twist it a little bit, and then that becomes the new paradigm. So like, okay,
Actually,
we were in the super robot paradigm all throughout the 70s, and then Tomino came over and like added a little bit of science into it, twisted a little bit, and now we're in the real robot paradigm. And then Ano came through and twisted a little bit, added in some elements from other things, and then that became Evangelion, and then that became the new paradigm.
believe it or not, how Miyazaki stated it absolutely best, because I don't know, someone was asking him something about, oh, how do you come up with these character designs or something very like to him must have been really patronizing, and but basically he stated like the best way to think about it is um a game of passing the baton. Like think of it as a marathon and someone's passing the baton, but every time you pass the baton you add something of yourself to it.
Yeah.
And that's what like anime character or just anime in general is.
So
It's passing the baton but adding a little bit of your own into it.
exactly, and that's what I think. I think that's really the key. And I know a while ago, this is a lot of episodes of NTR Radio ago, we talked about how basically the only Americans that are really, really trying to make what could probably be considered anime are young black men. Like young black men who were into DBZ, who were into Naruto, who were into these
I'm not
shonen
laughing
action anime.
I'm just
Eh,
laughing like as a sense of like
Well, no,
in the sense
I
that
do think
they're genuine about it.
yeah, that's the thing though, is that
Mhm.
the
And that
they're
makes
they're the only people who seem genuine enough to basically say, yeah, I want to make something that can be considered anime, and that's what LaShawn Thomas did with Yasuke. Like he
Yeah.
worked with Studio Mappa and made an anime about the Black Samurai.
That trailer, my jaw dropped like, holy shit!
I'll be honest, I
This
haven't
is
watched
really
it yet.
cool.
I still need to check it out.
Check out the trailer. Your jaw's gonna like drop.
But so that's the thing. The reason I'm particular about young black men creating this anime media is because that's exactly what they do. They take the influence that they got from shows like Bleach, Naruto, One Piece, DBZ, all this stuff, and then they add their own thing to it. Like they kind of twist it a bit, and then that has a potential to become a new paradigm. So I consider Yasuke an anime.
Oh yeah, well, like
Because not
through
only
and through,
not only
no
is it
ifs, no ands, or
because
buts.
well, not only because it was made by a Japanese studio, though I I I I'm coming close to making an argument that you don't even need it to be made by a Japanese studio. Number one, because a lot of this stuff is outsourced anyway. So there's like Koreans working on anime from coming
Chinese
from
working
and
on
like
anime.
these are
no.
works
There's
that are
been
commissioned by
anime.
anime
There's
by
been anime outsourced to North Korea.
yeah.
Wait, what?
No, but
Wait,
yeah. Oh, yep. Listen, yeah.
They probably don't want to
I don't
talk a
know
whole
which
lot about
ones
that.
though. I don't know.
You can either confirm or deny.
But so that's the thing is I'm very close to making an argument that you don't even need it to be produced by a Japanese studio. But Yasuke was produced by a Japanese studio. An American was in charge of it, but it's still Japanese culturally. Well, I would loosen the necessity for it being Japanese culturally. It's culturally anime, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, like it doesn't have to be based on a particular country as long
World masterpiece theater.
Well,
like
It's all
that. Well,
which is all like
these.
very
Well,
Western.
yeah, you VZ, you have a very good point. Like, yeah, they made anime of all these like
Little
all,
Women and
yeah, all these
Annie of Green
classic
Gables.
all these classic stories that not Japanese in origin, but they took that and made anime works out of it, and we don't consider those, like, we don't question any of those.
an anime that I actually enjoy a lot. It's actually from China, like The King's Avatar, which live action series, it's okay, but the anime series, I thoroughly enjoyed it, and it's like, hey, this is clearly a Chinese anime series, but it's pretty good, and it's like with their spin, their take on it. So
One guilty pleasure I have is very terrible Korean stuff from the 70s and 80s that they used to, where they would just like take an anime robot or a bunch of different anime robots and put them together and make their own weird thing.
you just described like how many series out there?
That sounds like halfway Super Robot Wars.
Yeah.
But so when I say something is culturally anime, I think number one, like, and anyone who's been around for any period of time, like anyone who hasn't just gotten into this stuff and is in their like uber weeb phase, knows that like otaku culture and Japanese culture are two distinct things, and they kind of feed into each other, but they're not the same thing.
Oh God, no! Jesus Christ,
It's
God,
like
no!
that.
I think that's like one of the biggest mistakes that otakus that go to Japan is like a culture shock. Like, wait, all of you not animators? No.
Where are the subtitles?
Yeah, where are the subtitles? Like,
But
no, people have lives. Anime is not like.
You mean there's no mates outside of like Akihabara?
yeah, exactly. They don't
Yeah.
just walk around. So
Where's my actual cat girls?
that's
Or they was it go to school and they have a ton of girls that just want to they just instantly fall in love with you.
but yeah. So like people
No, that
understand
girl's
that.
not a tsundere. She really does hate you.
But so people understand that Japanese culture and anime culture and otaku culture are distinct things. So that kind of feeds back into my notion that it doesn't necessarily have to be culturally Japanese, but it has to have a respect for the anime culture. And that's kind of why I draw a line at something like Megas XLR. Not that it disrespects the culture. It clearly has lots of love for super robot anime, but it's not that it's taking those paradigms and putting a spin on it. It's just a parody, which is okay to be, but that doesn't make it anime.
Mm.
Like
Yeah,
like a lot
oh, no,
like
just-
you have a lot of like Western cartoons, stuff like Steven Universe references anime a lot. A lot of you can
the
take
original
all, like,
Powerpuff Girls.
a lot of those old cartoons, like Dexter's Lab, was very
yeah,
anime.
yeah.
But
I love the Speed Racer one.
the speed rate,
Well, the speed racer.
like Dexter's Lab was animated the fuck out.
Also,
But
the one
it was parody.
that was the last episode originally of the series.
Was
Where
was
they-
that
where
the
they all got their
two-parter
own,
where they go to Japan and fight the kaiju?
Yes,
where
yes.
Dexter goes to Japan and tries to show off to the Japanese kids with his giant robot, but it turns out every kid in Japan has their own giant robot.
Yeah. I love see someone working on that really got the whole like these are super robots, these are real robots because you see the one kid has like very like a super robot and the other one has like a very like real robot
Yeah,
aesthetic thing.
the
And
pe-
someone really working on that. And the people that were writing for Powerpuff Girls kind of knew a lot about like anime stuff too.
yeah, quite clearly the people who worked on things like Powerpuff Girls and Dexter's Lab were into anime. Otherwise, none of that stuff would make sense.
Boondocks.
So here's
Yeah.
the question. Here's the fucking question: is the Boondocks an anime?
Didn't Madhouse work on some of that?
Madhouse did work on. I think the second season, but let me check that.
Okay.
Cool. Yeah, we need to confirm this.
Wait,
Can we get our can we? Yeah.
That's the issue. That's the question. Is the Boondocks an anime? Because
Moe Animation 2 to 3. JM Animation.
See, weirdly enough, if I was to do my own stuff, it wouldn't be, despite what you see me tweet and draw online, it actually wouldn't be like lighthearted Iyashike type of things. It would be more serious because I think that's kind of what we need here. More is serious animation that's not. But when I say serious, I don't mean like adult, but not like
you mean something like Mobile Suit Gundam or SDF Macross or Neon Genesis Evangelion.
Exactly.
Something that's
or
telling
more like, well, knowing me, more like those crazy 80s OVAs like Ixer and Zerheimer, like that level of.
We used to produce that kind of animation. Not quite as serial as something like a Gundam or a Macross, but that kind of show to me is what something like Thundercats was back in the day.
Yeah, which was animated in Japan.
Exactly.
Also,
wait, really?
Yeah,
Oh man,
yeah,
dude, I'm just.
the Thundercats, Silverhawks. Half of the '80s cartoons were done in Japan.
Yeah.
That was just the outsourcing.
Yeah.
When we started outsourcing animation, it was first to Japan. In fact, if you ever watched any of those like Rankin Bass Christmas specials, all the way to the Rudolph one, those were all done in Japan.
Yep. Japan used to be the fucking powerhouse of the world for animation.
BattleTech.
So what? Yo.
Well,
that's
BattleTech, those designs.
Yeah.
That's
a whole nother.
We're talking about candidates for like a serious.
Yeah, I was just about to say like
American anime work. Fucking BattleTech. You already have the universe established. It's already a mecha show. You're 2/3 of the way there.
There was a BattleTech TV series in the 90s.
There was.
Yeah.
I just like binge watched like the cartoon series, and I'm like, this is not bad. It's like I'm just still watching it.
You know what's actually a decent, serious cartoon in the 90s? Anyone ever heard of Exo Squad?
Yes.
See, again, we were almost there. We were almost at that. We could have.
Yo, what happened to like American mecha shit? Like it was all over the place in the 80s and into the early 90s a little bit, but now it's like, okay, you have Titanfall or you have Mech Warrior.
CG. Yeah, unless it's movie CG stuff. They don't really want to devote that time to making, unless it's like now for Netflix.
Yeah, but most of the movie, most of the movie CG stuff sucks. Like as someone who literally grew up with mecha since I was 5 years old, all that stuff like it.
Well, that's why you don't see that. That's why you don't see serious. And I'm not even like hyper, like someone like other people that I follow have said like that's pretty. The reason why you don't see serious animation action cartoons is because of uh, that went to uh, that that went to Hollywood movies and video games.
It fucking barely went to video games. I'm being very honest. Panda, what was the last mecha game that
Oh no,
like
I didn't mean
re-released?
just mecha game. I mean like just serious, serious stuff, serious action cartoons.
You know,
I
here's kind of my thing. I'm I I get it. I understand like the video game paradigm. I kind of think serious video games as they exist right now are kind of overrated, and I would much rather
See, I would have to agree. Yeah.
that kind of story be like be told through animation.
No, I agree with.
I
I'm not, just
like
saying where.
my and like again, this is just me. I can get behind like I can get behind something like a Mech Warrior 5 where okay,
okay.
it's BattleTech universe. I understand that. Yes, it's very serious, but the focus is on okay, let's get you in a giant fucking robot and start shooting things and stomping through buildings. And let's keep doing that over and over to progress the story. What I'm not that interested in as far as Western video games go is the where the gameplay is used as a vehicle to progress the story rather than the story being used as a vehicle to progress the gameplay. That's the best way I can put it.
Yeah.
I
But
was actually gonna.
in an animated series that would be just fine. But
Mhm.
that's kind of the issue, and that's where I sort of I'm halfway with you, VZ. Where if I was to make something resembling an anime, I would want to make at least two, one of which being a cute girl anime because of course, and then the other being like a serious like storyline giant robot anime in space.
Question: 3D anime. I've no some like we got some decent stuff that came out, back in the day and stuff like
Well, I'm
that.
actually going to talk about that when we do the season because I got something that I actually liked that had 3D CG. But
So
go on.
here's
Oh, because
here's
I
the
was
issue with 3D CG. What are we using it to animate? That's very important.
To me, it's best for not inorganic things. The thing is, my issue is, vehicles I have in mind or ships. But I've sort of like the reason why I've always been hard on CG for mecha mostly is because even though they're inorganic and even if they're piloted, to me, I still treat them like characters.
I I think the same thing. However, I think the big difference as far as CG goes for mecha is the the way they're presented visually. And I'll give you an example. If you watch something like Macross Frontier that has CG mecha, but the way the shots are constructed in the combat scenes and whatnot are
Yes.
still very they're the same kinds of shots that you would get if you were doing a a 2D animation. Like if it was like Macross 7, it uses the same sorts of shots you might see in something made back then with the 3D CG. And the reason that doesn't work is because it's not taking advantage of of the plus sides to using 3D CG. Contrast that with something like at an extreme level, something like MS Igloo, which is completely 3D CG. So there's really no you you can't really do those same kinds of shots because you don't even have the 2D characters. But at a less extreme level, something like Gundam of the Origin, where the battle scenes are constructed in ways that could not be done with
Oh
traditional
God, no.
animation.
Oh God,
You can't,
absolutely not.
and 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 the result is gorgeous. You see this beautiful representation of the Battle of Loom, and everything's very smooth. Everything
Yeah,
kind of
I
pans
was.
around. Like you can get those circular panning shots that are just silky smooth. The high speed combat, you have the camera just following the machine as it's jumping in between these ships, and you can get that if you just like calm down a little bit, make it look, and this is gonna sound weird, make it look less like a mecha anime, because we're not in that same paradigm anymore when we're using CG for these robots. But I think it can be done. I think it can definitely be done, but I think there are situations where it works better than otherwise. If you were to
Also,
make a hypothetically, if we were to make like a mech warrior anime, a BattleTech anime in 2021, I don't think I would want the machines to be CG, because that's all ground combat, and there's less of an opportunity to do those same kinds of shots that you got in Gundam The Origin with ground based combat. That's
I-
like that's my whole thing with CG. But I think it can be done, and I think there's no doubt in my mind that if someone were to make if an American were to make a very serious robot quote unquote anime, if it's something that builds off of the paradigms put in place by previous robot anime, if it takes itself seriously, and B, like you can see the influence from stuff like Gundam or stuff like Macross, stuff like Super Robot Anime of the 70s, stuff like Real Robot Anime, All Noah Zero, uh, Knights of Sidonia. All you can If you can see that influence, then I think you could have something that could be considered an anime. If an American were to do that. The issue is, can you
I also want to see characters that are like have issues. Like again, Evangelion.
yeah, well that's kind of also the thing is there are storytelling paradigms that occur in anime that don't really occur in animation that we wouldn't consider anime. And
You know.
Hmm.
like I wrote an article for Iyashike some years back, like about what is anime and why does it matter. And part of the thing
What
I came
is
up
anime?
is to kind of illustrate the question is like, do we seriously believe that America, like the American animation industry, would put out something like Opate, would put out something like Girls in Panzer, would put out something like Strike Witches, would put out something like even some of this very non-standard anime, put out something like Cat Shit 1, or would put out something like Tekkon Kincrete, would put out something like Ping Pong, any of these highly standard anime or highly non-standard anime, and
Pop
that's
Team Epic.
put out put out something like Pop Team Epic. But that's the thing is, I think America could probably come close, but the reason for that is because that's a like pure comedy anime, and it's not even like Japanese, like it's not even a four koma style comedy anime.
I got a potential contender,
Okay.
and the reason why I asked 3D animation, and it was made, in the Western market, and it was actually pretty freaking good.
Okay.
Roughneck's Starship Trooper Chronicles.
Ooh.
Like
So
it, it was aimed at it was developed. It was originally promoted as a kids TV show, but if you're an adult, you would eat this shit up like no fucking tomorrow because it was that fucking good.
so that's tough.
Yeah, because it's like it hits pretty good on the hallmarks, like good story, interesting mix of characters, character progression throughout the series. Like, and it was developed, it was where was it? It was developed U.S. or Canada. It was like, but it was just purely basically, yeah, like had all the hallmarks that could make it a potential, anime for the U.S.
Maybe, but kind of what
Also, there
I'm
was a
talking about.
Starship Troopers anime in the 80s,
There
animated
was
by
like
Sunrise.
the Japanese fucking loved Starship Troopers, like more than
Oh
Americans
yeah.
love Starship
Oh
Troopers.
god, yeah. Which the anime ended up being more truthful to the book
Oh yeah.
than the '90s movie that we know. But the Roughnecks was also pretty, source material wise, it was pretty more truthful ish.
So part of the thing, and I guess, and I didn't explain this, but part of why I'm wondering this is because we've had things like Yasuke, and we've had things like the Shelter music video, that their origins are the origins are from the minds of Americans, but they're very Japanese in their art style, and they're very Japanese in the paradigms that feed into them. And so I wouldn't consider something like Roughnecks an anime purely because it doesn't have that genealogy.
Oh.
But if you were to come out with something that you can very clearly tell was heavily influenced, like like basically lifted paradigms from something like Mobile Suit Gundam or something like SDF Macross, I think that would come a lot closer.
Now you're
It's
making me
it's
think of
it,
all the freaking shows I watched back in like the '90s and early 2000s. Like son of a bitch.
so like it's a cultural thing, and again, it's not culturally Japanese, but it's culturally anime. It has that lineage, that family tree, where if you were to pick apart its influences and go all the way back, you would find something like Gundam, or something like Macross, or even something like Sailor Moon if it's a magical girl show, and all that kind of stuff. You would find things that everyone agrees are anime in that show's genealogy, which is why something like Yasuke or something that's stuff like the things that are coming out of Noir Caesar, I would consider those anime because it's very clear that those works had heavy influence from stuff that we all agree is anime, stuff that there's no question is anime. It's why I come very close, and I probably would say this, to considering the Boondocks to be an anime, because you can see that it's very clearly taking it's not just lifting the aesthetic and using that. It quite clearly takes cues from like samurai anime, from Rurouni Kenshin and shit, and it's not
Naruto as well.
exactly yeah, it clearly takes cues from stuff that we all agree is anime. But so what it comes down to is is it respecting the culture? And that's that, and like at a certain point we're far from the paradigm of like stuff like X-Arm, uh, stuff like High Guardian Spice, because I wouldn't consider High Guardian Spice an anime, particularly because it doesn't. It seems to have the superficial style, but, and again, fucking no one's seen it except the people who watched that pilot, so we don't actually know. But just from what we're seeing, it is taking some of the superficial elements and doing something with them that you might see more commonly in Western animation. It doesn't particularly seem to be doing something that you would only see in anime. So, because that's kind of, and it's sort of a bad metric, but I feel like that's really the only way we can figure out what anime is it culturally anime? Is it doing things that you would probably only see in anime? Because anime is the only animation medium that really habitually does the sort of things that it does. Like what other kind of animation do you see today habitually doing stuff like Gundam or stuff like Madoka Magica, stuff like Kobayashi-san's Maid Dragon, stuff like My Teen Romantic Comedy Snafu or bottom tier character Tomazaki. Like you don't see that from other animation. So if an American made a cute anime girl show set in a high school, and it walked like bottom tier character Tomazaki, it talked like bottom tier character Tomazaki, I would be hard pressed to not consider that an anime purely based on the fact that that it came out of the mind of an American. I don't think that would be respectful to the medium to not consider that anime just because it came out of an American. Because I don't subscribe to this notion that like American otaku are just on the outside. Like there's Japanese otaku and there's American otaku, or there's Japanese otaku and there's everywhere else otaku. I don't subscribe to that notion. I think the only thing that's really separating the Japanese otaku from everywhere else is the geography and the language barrier. And if you can overcome that, I don't think otaku culture is gonna like try and fucking battle you from participating in it just because you were born somewhere else. That's not
No,
that's not the
as long as
experience
yeah,
I've
if you
gotten.
understand all the little aspects that make it an outsider can do it.
If you understand and respect the culture, everything should be fine. I think the issue with things like I think the issue when it comes to why people are skeptical when Americans try and make anime is people are wary that someone not already immersed in that culture, like someone who's not like very obviously already immersed in that culture by the nature of living in it.
I know what you're saying.
Yeah, someone who's not from there, and so the assumption is that they're not as close to the culture as someone from Japan might be, because there's the geographic barrier and potentially the language barrier. I think the issue is that it's assumed that someone who has that outsider status isn't going to respect the culture, and like especially with young black men creating anime and manga media. I know I keep going back to this, but it's literally the only like category group where I see people who not only are quite clearly inspired by anime, but they're also making stuff habitually. But that's the reason I think that it would be a disservice to anime to not consider what they make anime if it's quite clearly inspired by the culture behind anime, by anime culture. So I think anime I think to put a bow on the topic, I think Americans can make anime without fucking it up. They just need to have a deep respect for the culture and it and in terms of like Crunchyroll and Netflix as far as Crunchyroll with XARM and as far as Netflix with not making sure people get paid, it would probably help to not have that gigantic like profit incentive, like that corporate level profit incentive. It would probably help, but that's more an ethics issue than whether or not Americans can make anime. I think Americans can perfectly make anime. It just needs to be clear that they have a respect for the culture. And that's some people's problem, I guess. So, the summer season has started. Panda, I will send you in the Discord. This is any chart for summer 2021.
All right.
As always, we're going to, in the upper right, we're going to sort by title alphabetically from A to Z. Anything look interesting? I know there's a couple things that I'm interested in checking out. Like a couple of these things have already started.
It's funny. It's like people been always telling me, the Tensei Shitara Slime Dataken. It's like,
Yeah.
Panda, you gotta watch this. I'm like first season I enjoyed a lot. I don't know. It's weird. It's like if it doesn't interest me for another go around, I just it's like okay, no.
But
It's like I don't.
my whole thing is
first
a
off,
show
let's
has
start
to
with,
really fucking catch me for me to watch it week to week in the first place. But there are a few shows here that I'm interested in checking out.
the first one, Bokutachi no remake, which is
Yeah.
see that one I didn't start off with. That one I didn't see. So it's Studio Feel. Maybe I'll wait for that one to end to see how it is. Who it is?
I like the premise.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not like it's like we're going to high school. It's like it's a high school student. It's like I'm reading this right now. It's like a 28-year-old game developer, with his company going bankrupt, him losing his job, returns to his hometown. I'm like to me when I watch an anime, like something in there has to interest me. There has to be a hook. And for me, naturally being a gamer, does the anime have to do something about like video games, whether it be in a game or something about video games in general? Like that's gonna be interesting, or something with like a military theme. But this one, I might actually give it a good solid watch here because
Yeah,
I like the premise.
I'll check this one out because I definitely I like the. You know what this reminds me of, and this is gonna be a weird comparison, but this kind of reminds me of like if they did Erased but lighthearted.
Mm.
Oh,
Okay,
jeez.
well, no, this is
God.
gonna get fucking. Oh, I gotta go back in time to fucking make sure everyone I love doesn't get murdered. Well, okay, no, let's turn it back a couple notches. Let's take it from like a 12 down to a 4. Okay, now all you need to do is go back in time 10 years to save your game development company from going bankrupt.
It's which, by the way,
and it's from
Erased, I
Studio
heavily
Feel, so
enjoyed.
it's not gonna be like it's not gonna stab you in the fucking stab you in the aorta every time you watch it.
It's like have a tissue box at the ready, please.
Okay. Let me see what else.
I know
I think
one.
we should do it by person.
Yeah,
think we should do it by person.
All right.
yeah.
So
I know
we'll, like,
one that I'm gonna check out is on the Genjutsu Shugi Yusha no Okoku Saikenkai, which is how a realist hero rebuilt the kingdom. I had the first volume of the light novel for this. So like the whole premise is it's an isekai show where the guy gets summoned to a fantasy world and he's like supposed to be the hero, but instead of going out and forming a party and defeating the demon lord, he solves the refugee problem, like figures out their agriculture and shit. It's not he's not sword and sorcery. He's solving problems.
So instead of like fighting on the battlefield, it's like, listen, like you could fix your shit right here,
It's like,
right
listen,
now, in your own
we need to
homeland.
allocate funds to X, Y, and Z. Here's what we're doing. It's like federal bureaucracy.
that one
the
girl in the
animated
middle
series.
looks like the girl from Amagi Brilliant Park.
Sento. Yeah,
Oh,
Yeah.
can we have another, please?
facts.
I'm
Well, it's
asking.
Kiwani, so who the fuck knows what Kyo? Well, we do know what Kiwani's doing. It's on this list here. Panda, anything look interesting?
Those two, the one you mentioned, all down for it. Oh God, it's like, hey, Panda, you this stuff, right?
Oh no, actually, the next one on the list is something that I watched today. Get a Robo Arc.
Mm.
That was great.
In
fact,
I'm gonna be real. I have not watched any Get a Robo at all.
Okay, if you ever want to watch something Getter and you don't know where to start, go with New Getter Robo from 2003.
Okay,
That's the one to start with.
gotcha.
All right. I know a lot of people like it gets compared also with Getter Robo Armageddon from 1998, and I like that one too. Getter Robo Armageddon is the best looking one because it was from that like sort of tail end of anime when they were still using tail end in the 90s when they were still using cell animation.
Right.
And it's OVA budget, so it looks really good.
Ooh.
The only thing is it doesn't make any sense if you don't know anything about Getter.
Gotcha.
New Getter Robo is very good for like if you don't know anything about it because it's kind of a reboot and a remake. It's a loose remake reboot. So start with that one from 2003.
Gotcha.
This is so this is kind of like the last thing of Getter Robo that Ken Ishikawa did before he died. And I will say one thing watching it, the 2D animation budget is very TV level. It's not like the OVA level like the other ones.
Right.
It's no worries, you know.
But
As long as-
but the CG, but the robots in CG actually look pretty good for it.
As long as the story is good and the characters are interesting, I will get
I
it
don't know. I like that too. A&N hated it though.
I am looking at something here that actually Anubis is literally right up your alley.
Oh yeah.
God, it's like everyone's like, Panda, I thought you were Japanese. Yeah, it doesn't mean I can speak it that
Oh,
well.
it's got one of those long ass titles, doesn't it?
No, Miyakyu Black Company.
Miyakyu Black Company. Okay, I see it. Studio Silverlink.
Yeah.
Okay.
Actually,
alright.
we're jumping a little too farther ahead.
Oh yeah. Well, I'll bring it. I'll roll it back here.
Because I watched.
Wait, what? This is getting a sequel?
What?
Oh god, another long name. Higurashi no Naku Koro ni Gu.
Oh yeah. Fuck. Higarashi's been going on for a long time.
Wow, I'm actually impressed.
Didn't they just get done with a new Higurashi thing?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, no, add that to the list. Okay, shit.
I watched this a couple days ago, Kanojo Mo Kanojo, and I didn't care for that one. It was okay-ish. It's not quintessential quintuplets though.
Ah,
That's the bar now.
Yeah, that's my standard for that's like my standard for harems now that I want.
It's like you just got a clipboard and a pen. Does it make the list?
The harem anime standard since like the late 2010s has been quintessential quintuplets. That's as far as I'm concerned, because that show was really a breath of fresh air as far as harem anime goes.
Really?
Yeah, I got Anubis into it.
It's like, so here's the issue, because like you got
and it's getting a movie next year.
quintessential quintuplets.
Yeah.
Oh, good, fucking good going. You deserve it, quintessential quintuplets.
Yeah. I know the manga ended, so it's probably like
you can tell I'm pumped about this show because I've only seen the first episode and I'm already
trust me,
up
it's
the show.
stupid.
Here's my dilemma. I call it a dilemma. It's probably not really a dilemma. You got a show like quintessential quintuplets, quite clearly a harem anime. It's because it's in that same vein as something like a Love Hina or something like a Happy Lesson, where it's just so clear that it's one of those one guy, 5 girls anime. Okay, I get the paradigm. I love it. I'm into it. Let's go. But you also got something like bottom tier character Tomozaki, where like halfway through there are like 3 or 4 girls that Tomozaki could end up with, and you actually don't really know. Like the story is so good at making all of these characters have very clear chemistry that it's really not clear who Tomozaki is going to end up with.
I really like that scenario where like the answer is like it's literally on the edge of your seat right until the very end.
Yeah, and it's not like a harem anime setup where okay, it's we're gonna introduce 5 girls in the first episode, and then the rest of the anime is gonna be okay, well who's gonna end up with who? It's we're gonna introduce these characters over time. It's not like when character B gets introduced, it's not just clear that okay, this is another love interest. It becomes a potential love interest over time, and it's like, oh, okay. It comes up like it comes up like okay, it's now this character may be a potential love interest because you can see they very clearly have chemistry. It's just I wouldn't say it's a harem thing because it's not I don't think it's designed to be that way, but it's just really good writing is what it is.
It's like one of the reasons why I loved Love Hina is because it's like they introduce the characters in like each episode, and it's just like throughout the series, it's like you got to see like, oh shit, there's like chemistry all around here. I just don't know who the fuck Kentaro's going to be with at this point.
Exactly. It's
like
it's
who's the childhood love interest?
Yeah, like that. That's the paradigm for like early 2000s era harem and romance comedy anime. Like that's like a whole genre to me. Is 2000s era harem romance comedy animes. That's Happy Lesson. That's Comic Party. That even shit that comes out in like the late 90s or like stuff that just came out a couple of years ago, like quintessential quintuplets. That's a 2000s era harem anime. it has all the familiar trappings of a 2000s era harem anime.
Which let's get some more of that in there. Come on.
I'm on board. If that's the new romance comedy anime paradigm, I'm on board 100%.
It's like you can throw a few things in there too. Just have a little elements that you want. It's like slice of life, we got you. Yeah. Let's do fantasy setting, we got you.
Yeah.
Sci-fi horror, okay, weird, but we got you.
Let's put it inside the current modern paradigm. You ready for this?
All right.
2000s era harem romance comedy anime isekai.
If someone does this, they're going to need to pay you money.
They probably they probably already made it, and I just don't know about it yet. Half of isekai anime is already harem anime. Oh god, dude ends up in fantasy game world, and now his party is made up of like 5 different women. Oh, that and that I described like 30 different isekai works right there.
It's like
needs
the
to
guy
have-
does one job.
It just needs to have the kind of the familiar symptoms of a 2000s era harem romance comedy. It has to be set up that way. It has to be set up where okay, it there's this kind of zany sort of wacky situation where the main dude encounters all of the women he's gonna spend the next 12 episodes with, and then they all somehow get together, and it's like this big reveal. This happens in like every 2000s era harem romance comedy. At the end, near the end of the first episode, they all get together and see that it's the same guy that they all encountered in zany ways, and they're like, this dude. We're gonna spend a full season of anime with this dude, and then that's your 2000s era harem romance comedy. Except if it's 2000s era, it's probably a coin toss between 26 episodes and 13 episodes, 12 episodes, whatnot.
The next one is one I think we're all gonna watch. Miss Kobayashi's Maid Dragon S.
Yes, everyone's been waiting for that.
I have my snacks ready on standby, and will buy more snacks ready on standby.
Can't wait for that character to show up, and everyone's gonna Twitter's gonna explode. ANN's gonna explode.
Oh my god!
I
hope everyone's tired of that. I know they're not, but I hope they are. I know. So, Make You Black Company. That was the one you were talking about, Panda. Make You Black Company. Yeah. I read through part of the synopsis of this, and I'm already on board.
What is it you always say?
It's like,
get the money.
Cash rules. This is
everything.
Cream, the animated series. Cash rules everything around me. Cream, get the money. Dollar bill, y'all. This is Cream, the animated series. It's isekai, like corporate overlord. It's hilarious. I was in the bookstore earlier today, and I saw the manga for this, and I was kind of like, okay, this looks kind of interesting.
And now you're going to proceed to the bookstore to buy the manga.
Well, now what really happens is I'm just going to watch the anime.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, it's a different take and an interesting take. Again, it's like all right, that's for a different world, but I like money.
And I know people shit on the isekai genre all the time, but this is what I love about it. You can really do anything with it.
Yeah, it's like hell. You don't even have to. The character doesn't even have to be a good guy. He can be a bad guy, overlord. Hey.
I'm still waiting for the anime for vending machine isekai. I know it's coming. Reborn as a vending machine. Now I've wandered the dungeon. This is a real light novel that exists and was published not only in Japan but translated and published in America as well.
Oh my god!
This is a real thing.
Stop it, dude.
The guy
stop.
was. I think he was killed by a vending machine that fell on him in the real world, and so he got reborn as a vending machine in the fantasy game world, and his power is that he can vend anything that he bought in a vending machine in his previous life. That's the story to vending machine.
I got an idea. Guy gets reborn as a toilet seat cover.
I'm done. All set. The isekai genre is dead. I regret everything good I've ever said about
We've literally gone too far. Reborn as a giant monster. I'll be down for that. Like hell yeah, let's get some monster action.
Well, here's the thing. There are plenty of there are plenty of anime ideas that they still need to make from my brain. We still need to make the Moe Golf anime with Taiga Woods.
We're getting Moe hockey in the fall season.
Fuck is my Moe Golf
Hey!
anime? I've been waiting for years. I guarantee you it's been over a decade. I've been waiting for this Moe Golf anime. They made fucking soft tenny, Moe tennis. They made the fucking badminton anime. They made a badminton anime before the golf anime. Are you fucking serious?
Jesus.
Badminton?
Wait, isn't there a manga out there already?
Yeah, there's a anime golf manga, Moe Golf manga, but I'm waiting for the anime. I'm waiting for all you need to do is name a character Taiga Woods. Taiga Woods. It fucking sells itself. It's that and we need Ghetto Robo. Not Ghetto Robo, Ghetto Robo, where the robot has an afro.
You know what? It could actually work.
All I'm saying is, I'm not saying I'm a genius, but all I'm saying is that I'm a genius, and these ideas would absolutely work.
And you could also have other golf legends in there, but they can't exactly say their name, but you know who they're doing.
Phil
You know.
Mickelson. Instead of Phil Mickelson, it's Phil Mickelson. Listen.
So anyway, the next one after that. Real surprise here that I'm gonna watch this one. Anyone not surprised?
Is it the super pink one right here? Pretty all friends selection?
No,
Because that seems like something you would watch.
No, Love Life Superstar.
Oh, I forgot there's another love. Listen, it's quickly becoming that I'm basically just never gonna catch up with Love Life. They need to take a break. They need to take a break. Let Time and Force Anubis catch up on Love Live because listen, Sunrise. I'm really happy for you. Your franchise is working out fantastically. I get it. It's the new Idolmaster and shit. I understand. I'm really happy for you. Fucking stop. I need to catch up.
But can you make a Moe golf anime?
Make the Moe golf anime in the meantime. I'll catch up on Studio Sunrise. I'll cut you a deal. If you make the Moe golf anime, I will catch up on Love Live.
He's gonna power through it. Just give him time.
I'll watch all of Love Live, all of it.
That'll be the terms of the deal. Just do this for me.
Failing that, just take a fucking break. Stop for a bit, a little bit.
Anything else? Because I'm not watching the Monica Magica Gaiden. I didn't care for that.
I'm surprised they made another Magia record anime. Because the game's not around.
They said they were gonna do more. It was just Let's see.
I never even watched the first season. I'm good.
It's not very interesting.
So I'm all set.
Realistically,
I know they're doing another Monica movie.
Yeah,
with
based
the
off
original
of
staff, and
based off of
that I'll
Rebellion.
watch.
That's probably gonna be good.
I see the thing you're talking about. Sereigeki Gensoki.
Ooh, we're getting the third Reconquista compilation movie. I forgot they were making those. Maybe it'll be slightly easier to understand, so people stop complaining that it's confusing.
I saw the first one of those.
I never even seen it.
Was it slightly easier to understand?
It feels like a couple of the episodes of the TV series together, like the first 5 or something.
Yeah, maybe this is a hot take, but I don't think. Do we really need Gundam compilation movies anymore? I don't think we do.
No. Not really.
It worked for, and I say this all the time. It worked for Mobile Suit Gundam because it was still. Mobile Suit Gundam was still kind of a super robot anime, where it had the Monster of the Week stuff, except it's like the giant robot threat of the week. We're we don't really need to fight the Zaccarello. That wasn't necessary to watch that whole thing. We don't the bra bro kind of like okay, yeah, we kind of foreshadowed the Elmeth, but is it necessary? Is that 100% necessary? But then as soon as we got into Zeta, okay, every single episode has something that's very significant to the plot. So you kind of can't actually skip something without missing to it, and without missing something important. And we've been in that paradigm ever since. So again, maybe this is a hot take. Probably most people agree with me, but I don't think we need Gundam compilation movies anymore. I don't know why they keep making them. Honestly, if I'm honest, I don't know why they keep making them.
Give us new material. Give us something fresh.
Yeah,
Interesting.
I would appreciate those resources being used to make a side story.
There we go.
Yo, instead of imagine a world. Instead of making like the double O, they made compilation movies for double O, right? I didn't just dream that. Because I know they made the Trailblazer movie. Maybe they didn't. Maybe they didn't. But imagine a world where instead of making 3 compilation movies for Reconquista, they just made like 3 movies that take place in the Reconquista universe that show other things happening in that universe in the same time. Like, imagine if they made instead of that, imagine if they made something like Thunderbolt in the Reconquista universe. Like, imagine if they made something like 8th MS Team in the Reconquista universe.
8th MS team, but we got to see what went on in the European front.
Well, like imagine. Well, like, that's the kind of thing. So, like, what they're doing with the Universal Century now is they're kind of filling in the gaps between Char's counterattack and Unicorn and all that, and the beginning of F91. So, like, they're trying to infill all that. But like, there's plenty of material just in like the 1 Year War and like the aftermath of the 1 Year War and the aftermath of Zeta and whatnot. There's plenty of material to just fill that in. You've still got you've got Sentinel, you've got Advance of Zeta, you've got École du Ciel, you've got all this shit just in different parts of the Universal Century all over the place. That's just waiting to be animated. Just sitting there twiddling its thumbs. Yeah, Crossbone has been around for a couple decades now. We're gonna get around to animating that or not? We gonna get around to animating that Sentinel thing or not? We're gonna get around to what? Here's so like my dream Gundam anime is Sentinel. My next one is Char's Deleted Affair, where we can all witness Char Aznable refusing to fuck Haman Karn and ruining everything for everyone in the Universal Century from then on. The entire Neo Zeon movement that fucked up the Earth sphere irreparably, you could argue. Like the first Neo Zeon movement before Char ran it. That whole thing, Char's fault. Char's fault. But we don't get to see that yet because Char's Deleted Affair is not animated. But after Sentinel, they can do Char's Deleted Affair. We can all see that in glorious 1080 or whatever they put it out in. We're gonna all witness that. But that's just my wishful thinking if they stopped making compilation movies because they don't need to.
Well, I mean, they're cheap. They don't really need to add much.
I get it, but not necessary. Like, okay, you save some time, but you don't get the whole thing. You don't get a full story. You miss shit. Unless they're deliberately putting shit into the TV series that can be removed without any consequence. In which case, why are they doing that? It's just weird. I don't think it's necessary, especially when they're doing stuff like they do stuff like the Zeta compilation movie, where it tries to make Double Zeta irrelevant, which is a mistake, by the way. But that's a discussion for a different time. We're very close to the end of the show. Yeah, that's about all that looks particularly interesting for this season. I'm definitely checking out Bokutashi no Remake. I'm definitely checking out how Realist Hero Rebuilt the Kingdom. I'm checking out Black Company. I'm checking out obviously I'm checking out Maid Dragon.
Oh, they're doing a Kinera Mosaic movie. That
Ooh.
all.
I still need to finish Kirano Mosaic.
Yeah, yes, both seasons.
This is interesting. Sunny Boy by Madhouse.
Studio Madhouse is. I'm not. What has Studio Madhouse been doing? Because I know they're like working on some stuff that I did enjoy. Oh yeah. Their big thing in the past couple years was No Guns Life.
Yeah, that was the sort of last thing. Are
And
they
then
doing that Chainsaw Man thing?
Overlord was like before that. I don't know if they're doing Chainsaw Man.
Because that has like their sort of.
I'm not sure Chainsaw Man is like even announced as an anime yet. I think it's just.
Oh no, it has. It has been.
It has been. Okay, then.
Yeah.
I'm
not sure.
Still waiting on that 4th season from Overlord. Madhouse, please deliver.
Apparently, well, apparently it's on its way. Let me check. Yeah,
I know it is on its way. That's why I'm like, I just deliver everything that I hope for because the season 3 got dark.
Let's be real. As far as anime I need to watch goes, I still need to actually finish Overlord.
It's Studio Mappa.
Mappa, okay. Oh, the people who are getting underpaid. The people who are underpaying their people off of Netflix money.
It's like I love it. It's like well, speaking of Netflix. that has to be like that has to put Netflix in an awkward position. Yeah.
Well, not really, because what's anyone going to do to Netflix? They got more money than God. They just casually throw around 3 times the normal budget for anime just because they want anime. And this is the way I kind of see it. Is Netflix they don't seem to have a particular love for anime as a medium. It more so comes off to me like they're looking at anime because it is particularly inexpensive to produce. And now they're seeing how they can produce as much anime as possible while spending as little money as possible. That seems to be what they're aiming for.
Which is why I'm also curious about the live action series right now.
I'm not.
Well,
be honest, I'm not.
I know, but like, there's something like Yoko Kanno is on board, and I'm like, okay, that's one positive thing I can say. Like, okay, yeah, if we get some new music, I'll be jumping for joy here.
Yoko Kanno can be on board all she wants. I'll listen to the soundtrack. How's that?
Well, then you can say the Cowboy Bebop live action series at least got us a new Cowboy Bebop soundtrack.
That'll
yeah.
If nothing else, we know that'll be good. Yo,
oh god, yeah.
Imagine I kind of don't even want to imagine this, but imagine if like the live action Cowboy Bebop somehow made Yoko Kanno produce poor music. Like, I know that's impossible because it's Yoko Kanno, but imagine if that happened. Imagine if whatever bad was involved in the live action somehow rubbed off on Yoko Kanno. She made
garbage. No, please, no.
And I understand this is impossible. This is impossible, everyone. It's Yoko Kanno, but imagine.
Yeah. I don't. Please stop.
Yeah. I'll stream it on. I'll stream the soundtrack on Spotify, but that's probably as far as I'll go because I'm not interested.
Well, that's and again, like they got Watanabe and they're on board as a consultant,
Of
and at
course.
least Ein is
Yo,
a Welsh corgi.
but imagine if Watanabe was not on there as a consultant.
Oh, I would lose a lot of faith
Like
instantly.
that would not be
Like how the Avatar live action series is doing.
Like,
oh man, I feel so bad for that.
yo, we're gonna make a live action Cowboy Bebop, but we're not gonna have the person who's responsible for Cowboy Bebop even on as a consultant. Like, he's not. It's not like he's the director and shit. But we're not even gonna have him on as a consultant. We're just gonna wing it. Yo, imagine if they winged the live action Cowboy
Oh
Bebop.
no! Oh my god! Well, they're winging it with the Resident Evil series, so.
But well, apparently they're making a fucking live action Made in Abyss. Which, if you asked me to predict,
Oh yeah,
what would be,
made in Abyss.
if you asked me to predict what the next live action anime series would be, I never would have guessed Made in Abyss. That's the furthest from like, this anime stuff. We can make live action shows out of this. That's the furthest from that paradigm I would imagine is Made in Abyss. Oh,
Weird.
Isn't there like a loli that was tied up?
yeah, naked.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
So
Yeah.
that's all. They're probably not gonna have that scene in there. I, I, I'll bet money they're probably gonna skip that scene. But even so, yeah, we're gonna make an anime of the show
The
where
best-
where the little kids go in the hole and Lovecraft is down there, like Cthulhu is in the hole. We're gonna make a show out of that. Like horrific, terrible monsters that will kill you and your family are down in the hole, painfully. Like they will rip your arm off and beat you with your arm. They're down in the hole. We're gonna make a live action of that anime.
The
Jesus
best
Christ.
I would be less surprised if they made a live action of Girls Last Tour.
The best live action based on an anime. The best live action is the laid back camp drama series.
I can believe that. From
That is
bi-
the
just
best.
based
That is
on
the
what I've
most
seen and heard
spot
from it.
on, perfect like anime to live action.
Wasn't
show.
produced by fucking Hollywood, I can tell you that much.
Oh yeah, we are getting that Gundam movie.
Oh
Yo.
yeah.
Yo, I don't know what to do with that. I don't know if I want to follow it. I don't know if I want to follow it with a fucking magnifying glass like the cartoon detective, or if I want to
God.
stay far away from it until it comes out. I don't know. I'm at a loss.
Can you agree that Legendary is probably the best bet for it?
They probably are the best bet for it, but I don't know if I trust them with Gundam. I'm gonna be perfectly honest.
Weirdly enough, I like that weird write up that was supposed to come out in like the early
Yeah,
80s. for that live
the
action
weird
Gundam.
one. I thought it was too weird. I thought it was like, okay, we've gone far off
Oh,
the
I know.
rails.
Weird now.
Oh,
But
the Zaku is 100 meters tall. That's not that I.
also the on the white base they make the Gundams. It's a factory.
Yeah, the fact I actually, if it wasn't like UC 1 Year War Gundam, I would actually like that as like a design and a plot point where the main ship is actually a manufacturing plant. Like I like that as a thing, but that particularly live action plan for the Gundam where the Zaku's are 100 meters tall and they and like you control the mecha in like you're like in a spider web when you control the mecha. That was a little bit too weird for me. Well, but I'm also the guy who doesn't like the mobile trace system from G Gundam because I'm too attached to joysticks and control levers.
Hey Nubis,
Yo.
guess who's going to distribute it?
Uh-oh.
Netflix.
Of course! Of course they distribute everything!
They got the rights to showcase the live action Gundam movie.
Of course they do. Of course they do.
No, you gotta do the M. Bison voice.
Yes.
Oh no, that. Yes.
Or the class, it's like for you learning about Gundam movie coming out to Netflix was the most important day of your life. For me, it was a Tuesday. Oh, that's a Anubis right there.
Of course, Gundam's coming to. Of course, the Gundam movie's coming to Netflix. Of course.
Oh yeah.
Why?
Oh yeah, they got
why
the
would you think
halfway.
anything
They got
else?
the.
Just don't touch Idolmaster or Love Live.
Yo,
Love Live.
yo.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
All right, now I'm gonna poison your mind, VZ.
And-
Live action Love Live movie produced by
Yeah.
Hollywood. Tell you top 7 things I never want to see in my life.
And it's gonna look like one of those Tumblr drawings.
No, it's no. What is gonna look like in real talk? What it's gonna look like is like Degrassi or some shit.
You know, it can't be as bad as G Savior.
You know, I'm. Let's not go to 12, Panda. Let's keep it at a nice like between 4 and 7 here. I'm just talking. Listen, you and I both know that if they do a live action fucking Love Live, it'll look exactly like Degrassi. It'll look like that fucking basic teen high school drama shit that was all over the place in like the 2000s. Back before Drake was a rapper.
Oh God.
Oh, you know what they're doing a live action of? Not anime, but we did bring it up earlier, and apparently the script leaked already, and everybody's all like just face palming about how bad it is.
Oh yeah, wasn't that the
Powerpuff
Powerpuff Girls? Yeah. This is why I don't trust these people with live action shit, because they take it and they just do whatever with it, and and because they don't own the property, they're just taking it and make it a live action. So in order to say, okay, well, I want people to know that I did this, so they start changing shit and making it worse. So yeah, that's why I don't trust Hollywood with live action animes, but like Made in Abyss.
See, anything that you and I would ever come up with you would have to go through me.
Well, that's kind of how it works in Japan. That's why it's better. They
Well,
anything
unless
they-
you do
they
foreign,
fucking-
unless it's like an American, like a non-Japanese, like because they kind of just sign it off.
Yeah, that and kind of the whole point when Americans get, like so stuff like the Madhouse stuff or stuff like Batman Ninja, like kind of the whole point is to do something different with it. But anyway, that is the show.
Yeah.
The email address is ntrradio@gmail.com. The website is ntrradio.net. You can check out VZ's stuff at vzmk2moemekagatai.wordpress.com. His book is The Big Book of Idols. You can find that at thebigbookofIdols.com. My stuff is at yashike.moe and otakuentrepreneur.com. I also have a book that's also named Otaku Entrepreneur. You can find that at otakuentrepreneur.com. In the upper right, there's the book link. You click that, and you can buy the print version and the digital version. I also run an anime goods store, Shinikiba Anime Goods. Shinikiba.moe is where you will find that. Check out the Bakugajin Show, Otaku Midnight, Asobi FM, and the Geeky Panda stuff at thegeekypanda.net. All this stuff is really good. I am on Twitter at TAnubis. VZ is on Twitter at VZMK2. The show is on Twitter at NTR_radio. The Geeky Panda is on Twitter at _geeky_panda. I'm Tom Force Anubis.
I'm VZ Mark II.
And I'm the Geeky Panda with my nut button. Good.
And even though we get animated like X-Arm every time we say it, this is NTR Radio.